There's no need for an intro. Let's simply begin this video with Corsair Cove. This is a pirate city builder made by the studio behind Tropico 6, working together with Hooded Horse, who at this very moment is actually one of my favorite publishers right now. What's the selling point in this game? The map isn't flat. And yes, this is the hook. It reminds me a bit about the game All Will Fall. So you're building up cliffs and hilltops, connecting everything with ziplines and elevators and bridges, and getting your goods from the docks up to a workshop on a hill actually takes some thought. This height stuff also affects the gameplay, of course, because it really affects how you plan your routes. The production side is pretty packed as well. There are about 50 plus production chains, so you're crafting things like spyglasses and cannons, and then using that gear to equip your crew and ships. Now here's the twist basically. The actual sea combat isn't real time. Instead, if you send your crew out, it drops you into a turn-based card game with dice rolls. So it's really a city builder with a little side game bolted onto the naval part. Now this game clearly has a lot going on, and if that card game ends up too thin, because right now it feels pretty good, but who knows what the full release will bring, then it could feel more like a menu between the parts of the game that people actually came for. So I thought that was important to know upfront. Next up on the list is LowBudget Repairs. This is one of those games that looks incredibly boring at first glance, but give me just 30 seconds. The twist in this game is that you're not trying to do good work. You take on repair jobs, and your actual goal is spending as little as possible, using the literal cheapest materials that you can find, and getting paid before the client notices that the pipes, for example, are held together with tape. This is pretty damn highly wishlisted, and it's definitely a funnier setup than most of the job sims manage. So the long-term progression here focuses around building a shoddy renovation empire, scaling up your profits, and then unlocking more complex, more chaotic jobs, which is a pretty satisfying system. The game does also have these narrative milestones, so there's a complete main story. Duskfade is for anyone who misses those old 3D action platformers, that Jak and Daxter, and Ratchet & Clank era. You're playing a kid with a little mechanical sidekick, and without getting too deep into the story here, the world is stuck in permanent night. And yes, of course, you're trying to fix that. The movement of this game is clearly where most of the attention went. It is all built around keeping your momentum, instead of just hopping from platform to platform. The combat uses a sword shaped like clock hands. There are some time-based mechanics woven in too, though I'm not quite sure yet how deep this actually goes. The game also has some quite demanding, pattern-based boss encounters. As for the structure, the game uses a central town hub that is connected to 4 main distinct biomes. And the primary theme here focuses on reaching and breaking the chains on the clock tower, so you can restore the sunlight. The game also has a very minimalist user interface, which I think is great. Now Stonewards is a co-op game that you can also play solo, built around dwarves defending a mountain. And yes, this sounds familiar enough on paper, but the loop is the interesting part. You fight off a wave, and in the gap before the next one, you have to choose between either hunkering down to get ready, or go running into the mines, so you can dig for ore before the horn goes again. This ore feeds straight into crafting ammo, fixing your broken walls, or rolling for random upgrades, so every minute spent digging is a minute you're not up top preparing, and if you push it too far, then your team shows up the next wave at dwarf short. Keep in mind that based on my knowledge, you do not get an AI teammate, so playing this solo can be stressful. Either way, people are definitely going to throw Deep Rock Galactic comparisons at this the second it releases, since it's got dwarves, mining, co-op and monsters. Now for number 6 we have Hearth and Hamlet. This one is a cozier kind of city builder, closer to an idle game, with some city management stuff built into it. In this game you start with basically just a campfire, and slowly build it into a whole magical little kingdom. Along the way you gather resources, assign workers, unlock shops, do some research, pass laws, and eventually get into magic, and trade with the faraway lands. And that's honestly the appeal. It is low stress, and you're not managing some fragile economy. Hell, Maiden on the surface looks like another Vampire Survivor style hot game, with glowing anime art, magical girl horror vibes, and hordes of enemies chasing you around. What actually sets it apart a bit, aside from the art style, is the card system underneath. You build your loadout out of weapon cards and mod cards, and you can stack or merge these cards together during your run. So you're also making these small build decisions pretty much constantly, instead of simply grabbing whatever upgrade pops up. Of course, the survivor-like space is pretty crowded, and the card system and the art is a pretty nice hook, but the real test here is of course whether the builds and enemy varieties stay interesting, even after the first impression wears off. Now Tears of Metal is great, and I have successfully requested a full review key. This one is a Scottish medieval co-op game, and it's basically taking that Dynasty Warriors idea of cutting through massive crowds of enemies, and mixes it with roguelike permadeath for your troops. You can also play this game solo, by the way, so the setup is you're leading a whole battalion trying to take back an island, with also some mystery buried in the plot that I won't get into. The permadeath is the part that stands out, since losing a soldier for good changes how you treat your troops compared to normal hack and slash. As you progress in this game, you receive emblem blessings from different clans. This is similar to the boon system in Hades. This allows you to upgrade your heroes, troops and village. The game at this point has racked up more than 400,000 wishlists due to this unique premise. Dragon's Sword Awakening has a history. It was originally planned as one of those anime RPGs, built around free-to-play systems, so a gacha game. And it has since been reworked into a straight-up premium game that you buy once. But even with the gacha stuff gone, it still plays a bit like it used to, with a big roster of characters to recruit, flashy combos, and plenty of enemies with status effects that you're meant to chain together with your team. Of course, what I would keep in mind is that a game built for years around a live service structure doesn't always shake that off just because the payment model changed. Next up is the Ranchers. This is a fairly big, ambitious farming and country life sim, and I mean pretty big. There's animals to raise, a whole homestead to build up from nothing, a pretty deep crafting system, an open world to explore, and there's also co-op for up to 4 people. So these developers are aiming at something closer to full life sim than your average farm game. And the funding push and demo updates coming out through this year actually back that scope up with real progress. Still, this is one where you have to be cautiously optimistic, because from what's out there right now, the driving and the camera still feel rough, and there's just not a ton of content available yet, compared to what they're promising. So the atmosphere and idea behind it are definitely appealing, but an ambition this size is hard to pull off. So I wouldn't call this a safe bet yet. Okay, this is number 1, the Guild Europa 1410, and it's easily the one with the most going on. The pitch is that you're not really running a kingdom, you're just one person, some random tradesman trying to build a life. So you pick a profession, run a business, hire workers, manage what you're making and selling, and deal with the prices shifting around you. From there, you can find a spouse, have kids, and eventually hand the whole thing down to them. And money really is just step 1, since the actual game is about turning this money into status, getting into local politics, maybe pushing through a law that helps your business, and of course, maybe making an enemy out of the wrong noble along the way. There's a legal and criminal side running through it too. You can play this straight as a merchant or a guard, or lean more into robbery or bribery. So in this game you're pretty much inside the system, instead of above it. Just one family among plenty of others in town, all trying to climb the same ladder. Now here's the part you can't skip. That demo was very rough. It leaned very hard on menus, felt quite repetitive, and it was pretty hard to tell how your political choices were affecting your business day to day. This clearly landed with the studio too, because just yesterday they pushed the early access back from the 16th of this month to sometime in September, straight up because of that demo feedback. So yeah, definitely wishlist this, because the idea behind this is great, and it is one of the more interesting pitches on the whole list. But you should expect to pick this up properly, maybe around November or December, when the developers had time to fix the game.